Welcome, welcome, welcome to yet another edition of the Red Carpet to Trailer Trash podcast. My name is Ian Collins, and joining me as always is my rock, Connor Rock.
That was nope. One day I'll approve of one of these, but it is not that one for sure.
Have you ever have you ever thought maybe I'm not trying to seek your approval?
No, why else would nope? Never once crossed my mind. But if I don't approve
I
of
mean
them,
that's
no one else would. Maybe approve of them. I don't know. That one was just it was a little too intimate for me for a Monday night. You know, catch me Thursday, maybe we'll talk.
well, I feel bad for Kate this evening then.
She makes that joke all the fucking time, and it sucks.
Oh, that you're her rock?
Yeah, it's dumb. It's the worst. Sucks. Hate it.
Do you remember that time that Richard sent a picture of you when you were a baby and said when Connor was still just a pebble?
No, I don't remember that, but that's a solid one. Isn't that what Dwayne Johnson calls his kid, or the internet calls Dwayne Johnson's kid?
I didn't know that, but it sounds like it, and that makes it much funnier.
Yeah, it was like either he said it or he posted like a picture of his newborn, however long ago, on like Instagram or something, and everyone was like, "It's the Pebble" or something like that.
I think he just got divorced, but for the longest time, he was married to a fairly unattractive woman,
I mean,
considering he is The Rock.
that's true. I never really thought of him as being married. I thought maybe he just spawned a child.
You thought he was like oh wait, you don't like Will Ferrell movies, but you thought he was just like out there spreading his seed.
Yeah, I don't know. For some reason until that like 30 seconds ago, I did not even think about The Rock having a wife. I thought he was just doing his own thing.
You thought he was just being alpha as shit.
Yeah, he's just going around and
He would just kick people's doors in, walk in, and fuck their wives in front of them, and they'd feel honored at the fact that the Rock chose their wife.
I mean, yeah, yeah. Because what can you do in that situation but feel honored? I don't think we should.
You could feel differently. You couldn't fight him because he's built like a brick shithouse.
Yeah, you'd be like, oh, "Excuse me, Mr. Dwayne, like don't fuck my wife." So there was this article a while ago. I think Anne Hathaway wrote it. Don't quote me on that, but it was about Hugh Jackman being like the tits. Essentially, it was like this dude. He does it all. He pretty much like he loves theater. He loves musicals. He loves singing. He loves that kind of stuff. But he also like be ripped as shit and like be Wolverine for 17 years and like he's just like a super nice guy on top of it, and he's a whole acting package, and he shouldn't be like as slept on. She didn't use those words, but shouldn't be as slept on as he is. Like he should be up among the greats. And I read that when I was like, I don't know, I was still back in law school, so I was probably fucked up. And I read it, and I immediately wrote my response to it was just saying the same thing, but it was about Dwayne Johnson. Not that he could like sing or anything, but just was like, he's in all kinds of family movies. He's in all kinds of like the Fast and the Furious movies. So like all these bad movies he's in, but he's like he keeps doing it despite what people say. And he's a nice guy, and Dwayne Johnson. And
Oh, I love listening to people tell stories about The Rock just because, like Rob Corddry was on that show Ballers with him, and he said that like anytime that The Rock like does a shot and he goes up for a cheers, he says, "To the troops."
anytime.
Every time. That's what his go-to cheers is.
Okay, respect it.
Yep. But yeah, no, she's not wrong. Whoever it was that wrote that, if it was Anne Hathaway, he's incredibly talented. He's incredibly funny. You know, he has that ongoing like public thing going on with Ryan Reynolds.
Yeah, like aren't they like pranking people or each other or doing? I forget what they're doing. They're doing something weird.
Yeah, it's just like an ongoing thing, but there was one video where they, as like a truce to their rivalry, they decided to go out and they were supposed to make advertisements for each other's companies because Hugh Jackman owns like some, I want to say it's like avocado business or something.
What? No,
Like it's, I'll look it up, but while I'm telling the story, but Ryan Reynolds famously owns Aviation Gin, the drink, the alcoholic beverage, and so I don't want to ruin the joke for you, but it was an incredibly amusing video that was supposed to sort of like put a kibosh on their truce.
so you're telling me Hugh Jackman owns an avocado company?
Coffee, it's coffee. I was way off.
Okay, that that makes more sense. It's still a little out
It is
there.
a tropical product, okay?
Fair enough, but coffee is not avocados. Because like, what? That would just be such a strange. Coffee makes more sense for like somebody with like,
He's Australian, so it makes perfect
yeah.
sense.
You don't just like go invest all your money in like some avocado company. I feel like that's just like avocado farmers don't even want to be avocado farmers.
I don't know. Now's a perfect time to be an avocado farmer. There for decades, their families were just getting by. Now all these woke white kids really love them some avocado.
true.
And I gotta be honest, I love getting an avocado spread put on my sandwiches. It's delicious.
I tried it. I tried to be a hip with the trends, but I don't know. I don't like avocado spread. I think it's kind of gross. I don't like guacamole either. I think it's kind of gross.
Guacamole, it does depend on how good the pico de gallo that's mixed with it is. But I love a good guacamole.
Just if I'm at somewhere that has guacamole, I'm just gonna get queso, and that's
Yeah, queso dip is better. I will admit that.
yeah. I don't know. Not a big fan of avocados, but you're right. It is the time. Everybody's eating their avocado toast, going broke, and whatever that one thing was about. So that's yeah. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe avocado's a great business. And then
The
Ryan Reynolds.
I saw that cauliflower is the new kale. Just on that topic.
That could be true. We eat a lot of cauliflower and like cauliflower rice instead of grain rice.
Mm-hmm.
So it could be a trend. Maybe I'm surprised kale didn't end up to be like poisonous or something. I was sure.
I'm not. What do you mean? Like it's just a type of lettuce.
but everyone wouldn't shut the fuck up about it, and I really wanted it to turn out to like be bad for you. That and like chickpeas, because everyone's like, "Eat my hummus." It's like, no,
Hummus is
hummus
delicious.
is delicious, but it's actually not as healthy as people thought it was.
It's not healthy at all.
Yeah, but people were like, "This is the most healthy thing you can eat as a snack. It's hummus," and then.
No, it's healthy if you eat it with like fucking carrots, but usually people eat it with like chips or pita bread, and so it's just a dip. It's mashed up chickpeas mixed with some oils and stuff.
Yeah, no.
Which
Chickpeas have a lot of they're like pea protein, which has a lot of something in it, or maybe it is. It's just very fattening. Like it's why like vegetarian burgers are not good for you. Because of like the veggie protein that's actually like it's full of carbs or something. I don't know the science. I'm not a food doctor.
would that just be a nutritionist?
Yeah, probably. Which is a thing. I know a lot of people went to my high school are like nutritionists now, and they just post pictures of strawberries on Instagram, and it pisses me off.
I'm sorry. Wait, hold on. I have so much to unpack here. I realize that we're almost 10 minutes in and haven't even mentioned the movies that we're talking
Alright,
about
hold
this
on, I'll
week.
do that. We're going to talk
That's
about
not-
Onward, Bloodshot, and the Hunt. Go ahead.
Okay, so there's a bunch of people that went to your high school that are now nutritionists.
Alright, maybe like 4, but that's a bunch from my high school.
That's still a lot of people that you went to high. Like, how big was you went to like a Catholic high
Yeah,
school?
my graduating
So
class
you-
was like 50 some, and there were like maybe 200 kids in the whole high school.
That is
So we
wild.
got like a 2% of us are nutritionists.
That is, well, one, no, it's 0.5%, but that's still. Oh
Oh,
wait,
yeah.
no, you said 200
Yeah.
people. No, you're
Around
right.
200. I ran those numbers.
I had it flipped. I thought it was 2 out of
No,
400
no,
there for
no.
a second. Um, but yeah, so that is a ridiculously high. That is a ridiculously high amount of people that are now nutritionists.
Yeah.
Um, but why are you upset about them posting strawberries? Why are they posting
Because they're
strawberries?
like trying to tell to talk about strawberries being healthy like it's some fucking nutritionist secret. Like they're the I don't know the diet Jesus for telling me to eat a fruit.
Berries are actually quite good for you. If you can add them to your salads, it's actually very healthy.
Yeah, I mean, are you a nutritionist now?
No, I
Yeah,
just
because
am
everybody
trying to
fucking
not.
knows that.
I'm trying to not be a fat piece of shit.
Gotta get the berries then. Go ask a nutritionalist and they'll be like, yeah, eat veggies and eat fruit. Yeah, I know. But some of the diet science is pretty cool. I can't lie. All like the new kind of shit that's coming out that I don't want to get into because I don't know enough about it. But every time I go home, my dad's like really into diet science right now, so he tells me all the nonsense. It might just be
Well, I
snake
mean,
oil.
it
Who
seems like
knows?
it's more useful. It seems more useful than him making his own bullets.
Oh, don't worry, he still does that.
Oh no, I'm sure he does. I just think that it's more like useful in his spare time to actually like still be up to date with general medical situations.
Don't tell him that because the end times are coming, and we'll all have berries, but we won't all have bullets, and we'll trade our bullets
Who
for berries.
knows? Who knows? Maybe. Well, you can. You don't have to trade shit if you have bullets and all they have is
You
berries.
just get the berries.
That's the great thing about bullets. But who knows? Maybe coronavirus will be the end times, and Doctor Rock is really going to be looking like the smart guy in the corner.
Yeah, he's gonna sanitize himself with
Meanwhile, Texas won't have changed at all.
Texas will just be the same thing. Me and Kate were just talking about the coronavirus, and I was like, obviously, I have like zero human contact all day. So if we get it, it's all her fault because there was just a case reported in Nova. So that's
Oh yeah, no. In Arlington, there's been 3 cases in Arlington, and it's all because people were abroad and brought it back.
yeah, that's what I've heard, and I don't.
And I cannot stand the idiots that go to public places after being exposed.
Yeah,
Like, it's one thing, like, the CPAC person easily could have just not known that they were even exposed to it. But there was a person up at Dartmouth that left quarantine to attend a business event.
fuck that guy or girl, I guess.
I
Not
don't
be
know. I
sexist
don't know
about
which.
it.
Yeah, you're right. A woman can be a dumbass too.
Yeah, this is 2020. But yeah, I don't know. I'm not super worried about it. It just sucks for older people.
Yeah, that's the thing is like I'm not really I would feel bad if like I were to spread it to people in my office because there are older people that work in my office. But if I were to find out like if I were to get it over the weekend and find out and I just like didn't spread it cuz that's the only place I interact with old people.
Yeah.
And I mean, if you're an old person or someone at risk, don't go to the fucking mall or like a public place while there's an outbreak going on. Like, go to the grocery store and go home. I realize that's kind of a dick thing to say, but like, if you're the one that's at risk of getting taken
Getting
down by
dead.
this thing, yeah, then you need to really look out for number one on this point.
And maybe, who knows?
Invest in your Netflix.
Yeah, get your subscriptions up to date and yeah, go just that might be their normal routine, just grocery store and home. That's my normal routine. Am I an old person now?
No, you are a bum.
Yeah, fair enough.
I'm kidding. You're a house husband.
Yeah, I clean and
Or-
cook and dog take care of. But anyway, this has been how to deal with the coronavirus. This is a podcast where we talk about how to deal with the coronavirus. If you're over 65.
Are you sure that the solution isn't what North Korea did?
What did North Korea do? I actually,
One person got infected and they shot him immediately.
I can't say it's not efficient.
It's an effective method, but I wouldn't recommend it.
Yeah, it seems extreme. But then again, I have no idea the hospital state of North Korea. I can't imagine it's good. So
No. But instead of going into a diatribe about the deficiencies of the North Korean state, how about we get into these movies?
oh man, I guess.
So we definitely didn't need to waste 20 minutes on that back and forth, but I think that our listener, whoever they may be, will enjoy it.
Yeah, we'll talk. Yeah, it's fine. We talk about movies, kinda. It's definitely getting less and less, I think.
This week is definitely the longest it's taken for us to get to the movies. So, the movie I saw over the weekend was Onward. Connor,
Yeah.
did you see Onward over the weekend?
I did not.
I figured not, but it's always worth a fun question. I haven't asked you if you actually saw it for quite some time, so.
True. So how was Smurfs 2 Onward? Aren't they blue?
Okay, Onward is I define
Don't
land.
worry about it. Keep going.
So Onward is about basically if mythical creatures from basically the Tolkien thing, like elves and cyclopses and dragons and
Your standard
unicorns,
collection of
like
mythical beings.
all these mythical creatures, but no humans
Okay.
existed. Or actually, there might be humans. I can't remember. But basically, all of these different creatures existed. And so people, like, there used to be magic and all that stuff. But then people discovered, like, electricity and basically the same discoveries that humans did in real life. So instead of trying to learn magic because of how difficult it was, they just stuck with the easy technology. And so it's just like modern day times for people that are elves. Like there are police officers, there's a high school, all this stuff.
That seems like a kind of interesting setting. Do they explore
Yeah,
that a whole lot, or just...
Not really. They don't explore it a whole lot, although they do make sure that like all of the sort of internal jokes that go along with it make sense.
Okay.
Like, so like there are like subtle jokes about it. But and in this, the story follows Ian Lightfoot, and his older brother. Oh, what's his older brother's name?
Chris Pratt.
Yeah, Chris Pratt's character.
Oh, his name's not Chris Pratt also?
No, it is not. I want to say it's not Barney, so I'm just gonna call him Barney.
Barney Lightfoot.
So the two, it's following Ian on his 16th birthday, and his mother gives him a gift from his father, who died of some illness that they don't really go into. Back when Ian was like a small infant, or maybe before he was even born, and so he never actually got to meet his father.
Okay.
And so this magic staff, if you use this thing called a phoenix gem, you can then see he can come back to life for a full 24 hours.
Just like once or all the time?
Once ever.
Oh,
Yeah.
okay.
Just, yeah. But the problem is that the phoenix gem, the first time that they use this magical spell, it gets they're not really accustomed to using magic, and so something goes wrong, and they only have his legs for this journey that they're about to go on, and so they decide that they need to go get another Phoenix gem so that they can, uh, bring back the top half. But they're now racing against the clock because his bottom half is already there. So there's the 24 hours.
Oh, so like the timer
so
starts, so he could spend all 24 hours as just legs.
He could, yes. And frankly, I think that that's, like, I understand, like, it has to have a logic somewhere, there has to be a sense of urgency, but the idea of why you couldn't just, like, bring back his top half, and then, like, the top half is there for the next, like, if his legs are there for the first 12 hours, and then his top half comes back, like, you put him together, like, why couldn't the top half stick around for the following 24 hours? But that's just a different question altogether.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a good question.
It was okay. It was an interesting premise, and, like, the message behind it was really good. It had its moments where it was very funny, just, like, once or twice. It had some quality jokes, but it was very, like... And I realize that this may be an unfair criticism of a kids' movie but it was a very predictable sort of plot that it goes on. Like, it was the amount of foreshadowing that went on throughout the movie was unbelievable. It was very overt. They talk about a gelatinous cube the entire time.
Okay.
And end up encountering a gelatinous cube at some point. It's like they very much I've talked about Chekhov's gun before, right?
Yeah.
It was big time Chekhov's gun.
And I don't know if we've talked about it on this podcast, but Chekhov's gun being in reference to, like, if the actors in something call attention to something, it's likely to be important later. And
so the name of it comes from a play in which I can't remember if it was the actor or the playwright, or the character of the playwright, but he points out that there is this gun on the wall above the fireplace, and it's referenced multiple times in the dialogue, and it sits at the center of the stage in the play, and so the audience's attention is naturally drawn to it, and so that's why it's called Chekhov's gun, because at the end of the play he does eventually use that gun.
Yeah, okay.
And so that's why, like, it's, if you've ever wondered or come to the realization that, like, obviously if they bring up this and this at the beginning of the movie, that's going to come into play at the end of the movie.
Yeah, okay. So a lot of foreshadowing, an okay story, predictable. How were the two what were they, the Lightfoot brothers? How are they as far as, like, Chris Pratt and Tom Holland?
They portrayed their characters well. Like, the voice acting was fine. There's no complaints from it. It wasn't spectacular, but they did the job effectively. But I didn't the like shy teenage boy or teenage girl, the shy teenager that needs to, like, find their confidence is such a cliche and tired character that it was just kind of, it's why I've mentioned, I'm not sure how many times I've mentioned on here, but I have a hard time going back and watching movies about high school now, just because I'm so saturated with that character, that archetype, that it just pains me every time I go back and watch all of these stereotypical characters.
Yeah, that's fair. I mean, no, yeah, I kind of agree. It depends on how it's done for me, I guess. But yeah, that's fair enough. Any other thoughts on the movie?
The the big the big concern I have about this movie is just that it's not like the premise itself is very original and like the general plot, but almost all of the humor and like approaches they take, the jokes they make throughout, and the way that they're trying to be entertaining, they're not original. They basically just applied typical movie cliches to an interesting concept. And that kind of left me a little disappointed.
Gotcha.
Because it's not that this movie is bad, because it's not. It's okay. It's good, but on Pixar standards, I think they could have and should have done better.
It just seems like they were playing it
so,
safe, you mean?
Yeah. It didn't seem like they really did anything super interesting with it once they came to the conclusion about what the premise was.
So where would you say it ranks in like the Pixar pantheon?
I'd say it's probably middle tier.
Okay. I think that's what we said last week. So we were right.
I think yeah. I think it pretty much landed where we expected it to. I will say though that there was a bit of a hubbub about the fact that there's a dialogue that suggests that there's the first openly gay character in a Disney Pixar movie in this.
What
where a police officer who happens to be a Cyclops lady mentions that I think her girlfriend or her wife has a child back at home. And so it's like a one-off statement. And really, it's one of those things like, I just don't care. Like, people are complaining, like, why are you introducing the idea of homosexuality in children, and then it's tangentially introducing the concept of sex to children, and it's not the job of Disney to do that sort of thing. But the way I look at it is, one, with all the other stuff that kids have access to, the idea that they're going to start thinking about sex because they hear that a female character that is a Cyclops in a Disney Pixar movie offhandedly references her girlfriend is the least likely place that they're going to figure out what homosexuality is.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, people are always just gonna get pissed about things like that. Whereas, like, my issues with stuff like that, I think we've talked about this before, is just when they're like so. And I didn't see it. I don't know how it was done. But when it's so obvious that it's included just for the sake of including it, that's where I start to have problems. And so, I mean, I don't.
Well, I'm kind of torn because it very easily could have not been. It's very obviously an attempt to normalize it. But then again, that's fine with me because like the only explanation that has to be done, and granted, I've never had a child that I had to explain this to, so it may not be, but it's essentially explaining the concept of why, like, you could just as easily go out to the mall and they could see two men holding hands as they walk down the mall, and then you have to explain it then. So it's the complaint makes no sense.
No,
and it's
and
so like the ham, it's not it's about as casually included as it can be.
Okay, well,
it's not like it's
like what you were about
it's
to
not
say
like
is when it's ham-fisted at your face, it sucks and it's dumb.
Yeah, it's not like the Star Wars thing where they included a shot where they only showed two women kissing just because they could or because they wanted to bring attention to it. It's not like that. It's more like in an earlier Pixar movie where they showed two women holding hands while they were walking a stroller down the street. Like, it's very, like, it's not something that's focused on. It's very, like, casually done, and there's not very much attention brought to it, but an adult will notice that. Like, you will notice that they do say that this is a female character that says my girlfriend.
So it looks like we got another classic case of no problem, but people make a problem.
That is typically referred to as a non-traversy.
Yeah, I've never heard that before, but I like it. That's good. It's good stuff. Fucking
Yep.
controversy over a lesbian cyclops. What a world we live in. God damn it! Alright, you want to talk about some trailers?
Sure, let's get what your thoughts were on Bloodshot.
Bloodshot. Okay, so I have conflicting feelings about this, and I'll take you on the roller coaster ride that was my experience.
Okay,
So
I'm excited.
I've seen a lot of trailers for this on like Hulu, but they're very short ones. They're not the full trailers, so they're more like, I guess, the teasers. And
Yep.
my opinion after all of those was, this is gonna suck. Like, I have absolutely no interest in it. And then I watched the first trailer they released, which is set to like, oh shit, I forgot what song it was now, but it was done really well. And it introduces a lot of plot points of like, this guy was a soldier, Vin Diesel's character was a soldier, and he died. Like, I guess he came home, there's shots of him like remembering coming home, and then he died. I don't know if like it was a second Thor or whatever. He dies somehow. And this corporation, branch of the government, I don't know what they are, like RLS, they didn't have enough lines in their letters. I will tell you that.
Insert cliche that
Yeah, like
evil group of people
Yeah.
that does something
like
bad.
evil science people. They bring him back to life, Terminator Genesis style, where he's just like made of nanobots, and
Yep.
so he becomes like pretty much like better Wolverine. Well, not better Wolverine,
Yep.
but like he becomes Wolverine, and he in like where I thought originally that was probably the end of it. It seems like the corporation is also kind of fucking with him in the sense that they're planting false memories in him and like making him relive this cycle. So it's kind of got like a like an Edge of Tomorrow-esque theme about it. Is like he's repeating the same thing, but in this case, like he doesn't quite know it, and it seems like he catches on. But they're manipulating him, and it seems like at some point they send him after their own like soldiers, or because in the second trailer, which made me kind of think it's going to be shit again. It shows like that they made like a team of these people that are like enhanced or whatever you want to call them, and one is the guy with like Doc Ock Jr. He's got like 2 metal arms.
Yep.
And like they have some fight at some point, I guess, but he also seems to be like one of them. So I don't know who defects or what happens, but he tries to go rogue and they won't let him. But the whole story is about him trying to go rogue, and so that left me. I don't really know how I feel about it. I wasn't even aware that this was like a very popular comic book until today when I did a little bit of research. And yeah, that's about it. I don't know. I think it could be good, but I'm gonna say it's probably not gonna be.
Okay, so a few things. One, just a fun question. Do you remember what the first comic book movie we reviewed for this podcast was?
The first comic book movie we reviewed for this podcast, it was the Kitchen, wasn't it?
It was. I'm proud of you.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't realize that this was a comic book until I saw the preview. Like the end of the preview. My biggest complaint with this preview, because it's a Vin Diesel movie, it's an action movie. It's not meant to be like high art. It's meant to be like entertaining, like a shoot 'em up type deal.
Yeah.
My biggest complaint is that they gave away the twist in the second movie, in the second trailer, I mean. If instead they would have just left it as basically the part where the guy is saying, this company, RLS or whatever, they're not who you think they are. And it's like, what do you mean? and just like suggest that like there's something going on with them, then that would be a lot more interesting than them giving away the fact that they've been fucking with his memories and that they're actually just using him as an assassin without him realizing it.
Yeah, you're right. 100% right. Because that's what I thought. That's what kind of hooked me from the first one, was like, okay, this is more interesting than I thought it was. And then you're absolutely right. The second trailer is just like, here's the plot.
And so, like, I can understand why it would be a very entertaining comic book. I don't have a lot of faith that this movie is going to be very good. But the biggest problem is that the only thing I didn't know about how the plot was going to go, they gave away in the second trailer. And so I mean, by no means am I going to say that it's going to be a bad action movie. But in terms of just like a normal scale, it probably won't be very good. The dialogue, the writing probably won't be great because they're adapting it from the comic book. And it's the only people that have seemed to have figured out how to do that are Marvel.
So I will say this, and this could be totally wrong because, like I said, I did very little research, but it seems like, and this is, I guess, to the movie's credit, I don't know how popular this comic book was. It was apparently pretty popular. It was like a variant comic or something. So I don't know how big of a fan base that they're counting on, but from what it seems like is what at least it seems that they did well was this, like all of this company bringing him back, messing with his memories and doing this. I think that's kind of like his backstory in the comics. So this might just be like a very in-depth origin film that like takes the source material and kind of runs with it a little bit. So in that way, it might be okay. But I don't see how, if that's the case, how they're planning on getting, like a sequel.
Well, that's sort of the problem, is that this may be a really popular like comic book. But what's a really popular comic book that's not like one of the Marvel or DC comics? Like 1 million people read it? That seems like it'd be pretty good for a comic book, like a monthly release comic book that isn't Marvel or DC. Is that like 1 million people read it every month? And they go once, that's what, $10-15 million box office? You need to attract people that aren't existing fans of the product, or else you're going to struggle.
Yeah.
And I'm skeptical that, because especially if they're setting this up for Vin Diesel to be like an ongoing superhero for this, in that for sequels, you need to do well with the first one. And so that's why I think, like, obviously the people that know what Bloodshot is will already want to go because they're interested in seeing the adaptation. But for the people that don't know much about it, like you and me, if you give that sort of intrigue, you get people in the door with it.
Yeah.
And
their marketing kind of pooped the bed with that. I think you're right.
And so that's my big concern. I think it'll be fine. I think that the local theater is going to have it on IMAX. So I may end up going to see it just because I like to get the most out of my A-list membership. And so I always like to go to the IMAX and Dolby theaters.
So this is another thing I was going to say, and this is a good segue into that. And that might be a good idea because I was impressed visually with the trailer.
Yes. The effects look very well done.
So
the concern I have with the acting and the story,
which I think is totally fair. And I mean,
or not even necessarily the story. The story is somewhat interesting. It's probably the writing specifically.
Yeah, because I think they got a good premise, and we'll just have to see how it does. Like I said, I think it could be really good. And, I honestly kind of hope it does do really well.
I hope so, too, because it's an interesting premise, but I don't have a lot of faith in this.
Yeah, I think I'm going to second that.
But there's also a lot of people that love watching Vin Diesel drive fast cars and talk about family for 2 hours.
True. So
So,
for the life of me, I will never know how there's like 15 Fast and the Furious movies.
they are so popular in China.
Oh yeah, I forgot about yeah.
They make hundreds of millions of dollars just in China. I think they get more than half of their box office from China.
That I mean I don't quite understand why, but I forgot about that. So yeah, that makes sense. Because if you're gonna make that much money, you might as well just keep making the movies.
Yeah. Just remember, capitalism always wins.
It's true. Do you have any other thoughts? You want to move on?
No, I think we can move on to The Hunt. So what were your thoughts on The Hunt?
The Hunt is Dennis and his rich friends capture some poor slash average people, and fly them to not Arkansas, to Richard Conwell. Is that who wrote The Most Dangerous Game? Man, I should have looked up. That wasn't. So they're like a bunch of like elites every year kidnap average people and then hunt them in some undisclosed location. Is the plot of this movie. And I gotta tell you, I could not give less of a shit about this movie. The whole time watching the trailer, I was like, I swear I've seen this before. And I can't think of where. I don't know if it's just me thinking of what we talked about it on this Hide and Seek Advanced Edition, the movie, which was a bunch of like
Ready or Not.
So I don't know. It just seems like it's an overdone premise, and it's gonna be boring and predictable.
Okay, so I understand where you're coming from, but a few things I need to point out to you. One, big shout out. You were really close. It's Richard Connell, not Conwell.
Okay.
So good job on that. I could not remember who had written that. Two, it was originally supposed to be released in like August of last year or October of last year, which is why you probably had felt like you'd seen it before, because it was being advertised up until like the week before it was set to release, and apparently Donald Trump found out about it and started tweeting about it, and so. Oh, I told you before we started, there were 2 movies with controversies, and both of them were dumb, and we're about to get into the second dumb controversy. But I understand what you're saying, but it's supposed to be like a satirical take on the idea of The Most Dangerous Game, and so that makes it more interesting to me. It's basically where a bunch of blue state liberals, elites, hunt down red state, like, impoverished people or like lower class people.
Yeah.
And it's like, and so that's the idea of, that's why they didn't release it, because it was supposed to be released like a month before the or no, not last year wouldn't have been the primaries, but just, it was supposed to be released last year, and they were just like, we just don't want to have to deal with this. And so they just went off, because Donald Trump was tweeting out about how the Hollywood elites are advertising a film where they're glorifying the murder of my constituents or my base or whatever it was.
All right, gotcha.
See how much the liberals, the people on the left hate you, yada yada yada, that kind of stuff.
Oh, so I would have thought that maybe he was gonna have a problem with it, but instead he decided to propagandize it and to turn. Either way, dumb.
I mean, not the worst move on his part. Real dick move, but he saw an opportunity, he jumped on it.
Yeah, I mean, it does align with his whole thing.
But the big problem with the entire concept of that is the fact that in order for that to make sense, that would have to suggest that you would be watching this movie rooting for the people that are hunting other human beings for sport.
Yeah.
Instead, it's actually the opposite, and it's making liberal elites look like hypocrites that hate their fellow man. So if anything, you would think that, like you said, he would jump right on that, talking about how it was so close to reality or something. But instead, he was taking pot shots at Hollywood. And so that's why these new releases talk about how it was the most talked about movie of 2019.
Okay. That makes sense. I didn't think about it. I just thought because we're so close, maybe it was hyped for a while.
Nope. That's the reason why, is because of this controversy. And
I don't know. How do you think it's going to be?
I think it will be good, not great. I think that with the acting talent they have like Emma Roberts, they have who plays Dennis?
Glenn Howerton.
That's right. They have Ethan Suplee.
I have no idea who that is.
That is the fat guy from My Name is Earl and American History X. He is apparently now like a power lifter and built like a brick shithouse.
Okay. Good for him.
So, yeah. So he lost like a couple 100 pounds and is now in shape. And so that's good for that guy.
There was one other guy I thought looked familiar, but I couldn't. He has dark hair.
There definitely was. And I will pull it up while I'm having this discussion.
You don't have to do that.
But I think it'll be good, not great, like I was saying. It's not gonna be high art, but I think that it's supposed to be like sort of an action comedy sort of thing. And so in doing that, I think that they have a good cast. Oh, Hilary Swank, that's who that was.
Sure.
Yeah, did not realize that.
So I don't know. I'm gonna disagree. I think it's just gonna be plain but bad. Like, I think you're right with the acting talent. They probably have some talent there, and maybe this is just my personal feelings. I just feel like this premise of people being hunted and trying to survive, like Hunger Games-esque bullshit, has been overdone. And based on the trailer, I just think that the comedy aspect of it is gonna fall flat. Like, I just don't. I don't have a lot of faith.
That's fair. I understand. It definitely could fall completely flat. But I think that it could. I think it has potential to be very good. But I think you're right that it also has the potential to be complete shit. Although, if you get a chance, I would recommend just reading the character names.
Are they good? Are they like...
on the cast? I'll just go ahead and do it now. Hilary Swank plays Athena. That might be an actual name. Ike Barinholtz plays Staten Island. Wayne Duvall plays Dawn, question mark, question mark, question mark.
What?
Ethan Suplee plays, parentheses, shut the fuck up, close parentheses, Gary.
What is happening? Are these like...
Emma Roberts plays Yoga Pants. Christopher Berry plays Target. Sturgill Simpson plays Vanilla Nice. Kate Nolan plays Big Red. Then Amy Madigan and Reed Birney play Ma and Pop.
Alright, there's some okay names. I like Shut the Fuck Up Darren or whatever.
Gary.
Yeah.
But yeah, so it's... You're probably right, but I think it's still definitely worth... Oh, it was September, end of September of last year.
So, I don't know. If those names aren't, like, some of them aren't just typos, like Dawn, question mark, it might be, it might be pretty good. It might be a little funnier than I thought it was going to be. I still don't have high hopes.
I think this is going to be a legitimately very funny movie.
We'll have to see. We'll have to see how it does. Do you think you're gonna make it to this one?
Probably.
Oh man, nice. We'll have two next week.
Eh,
Since last time we had two. Oh no, last time we only had the Invisible Man, which I'm still trying to go see. But
well, I mean, it's worth noting I have seen more movies, but I prefer being able to talk about just catching up, the dudes chatting portion of our session, of our podcast. I think it's more endearing than me just going on for 30 minutes talking about movies that I've seen.
that's fair. We'll have to see what the people want if there's ever any people. But no, I like the bullshitting because it wastes time and yeah, you're right. It's good radio, right?
Sure. Yeah, good radio.
All right, you want to give us the wrap up?
Sure. So, doing a wrap up, we had Onward, which I think we're going to go with ready for the red carpet. It's not going to be a standout. It's not going to be stupendous, but it's still pretty good, and that's really all we expected. Then we've got Bloodshot, which I don't. Which do you do you think this one is ready for the red carpet, or do you think that it's trailer trash? Because I can't really. It has the potential to be either, but I don't really. I don't have the faith in it.
I think it is going to be. I'm going to put it ready for the red carpet, but just over the line right now.
Okay, that's fair.
Because
that is completely fair.
I have a little bit of faith, mostly hopes. But yeah, I think it'll be, as far as like action Vin Diesel flicks go, I think it'll be good. I hesitantly say that.
And then I think The Hunt is ready for the red carpet, but you seem to be very skeptical.
Yeah,
of that.
I would put it in trailer trash, but I think those reasons might just be my own. So it'll who knows? We'll have to find out. Like I could see it being good. I just don't have any faith.
That's what my parents tell me every weekend.
Talk about your podcast.
Oh yes, so I have two podcasts. I think I mentioned before the Stereotopical podcast, where we go in depth on current issues in modern society, such as healthcare, guns, and globalization. We are currently we have released our pilot episode on healthcare. It should be on Spotify. We are still we have some recording scheduling issues, so we are currently saving up a few episodes so that we can start releasing them in a steady manner. Then the Fade the Public podcast, March Madness is upon us. We are going to be picking the conference championship tournaments this weekend, and then we'll be moving on directly to the NCAA tournament, where we will be making a bracket next week.
I was just going to ask if you guys are doing a bracket, but asked and answered.
We will indeed.
All right, good stuff. This has been Red Carpet Trailer Trash. Follow us on Twitter, or don't. We should really get somebody to run the Twitter. I don't want to do it.
I might do it eventually.
Because I see articles online sometimes, and I'm like, I should tweet this from the Twitter, and then I just don't. It's mostly about like...
I might... well, we should probably just sign off and discuss our...
they want to hear how the sausage is made. No, yeah, let's...
I'll show you how the sausage is made.
On that note, let's sign off. Until next time.
Until next time?